The psychedelic adventures of the FBI agent with an extra-dimensional entity living in his head continued this week with the release of Absolute Martian Manhunter number 4. If you haven't been keeping up with this series, then the story of the Absolute Martian Manhunter takes place in an alternate universe, one that was created by the evil new god Darkseid. Here, FBI agent John Jones is part of the Stochastic Terror Division, and he is tasked with investigating the cause of seemingly random acts of terror. After he was caught in an explosion in a coffee shop, Jones was approached by an extra-dimensional entity that called itself The Martian, despite not actually being from Mars. It proposed that the two should work together to solve their mutual problem, a nefarious White Martian who is manipulating people, pushing them to give in to their darkest instincts. While the first 3 issues of the series have focused on acts of mass murder and violence undertaken by surprising people, this issue focuses on another very real issue, one that is more personal for our hero, against the backdrop of a particularly bad heatwave. While Jones and the Martian spend most of their time dealing with random outbreaks of violence, really this issue is about the breakdown of Jones's marriage. It hasn't been caused by the meddling of the nefarious White Martian, no, it was his own fault. You see, Agent Jones has thrown himself headfirst into his work ever since he survived the bombing and the Martian took up residence in his mind. Since then, John has been able to essentially read the thoughts of other people, or really it's kind of smelling them. People's thoughts are presented as plumes of smoke erupting from their heads. At a glance, or a sniff, John now knows intimate details about people's lives, who they are, who they love, what they believe in, and everything in between. But the one person he's been avoiding looking at is his wife Bridgette, and this negligence on his part boils over in this issue. The uncomfortable temperatures are having an impact on the citizens of the city, with many losing their tempers over innocuous things like spilled coffee, resulting in massive property damage and injuries. John and the Martian spend their days trying to remind people that they are friends, neighbours, and humans to try to dissolve the conflict. For example, the case of 2 business owners clashing over long-resolved racial tensions, or the neighbours that are feuding over property boundaries. The fact that they've turned this small area of contested land into a literal war zone, complete with hastily constructed fences that they fire at each other over, with family members on shift 24/7 to monitor the other side, is gloriously absurd. A page is also dedicated to police officers losing their tempers in the heat with deadly results. We also see the reaction of the victims' families, who are rightly furious about their loved ones being killed. Frankly, each of these subjects could easily have filled a whole issue, but the real underlying story is John's relationship with Bridgette. Bridgette's frustrations with her husband come to a head, and she confronts him about how avoidant he's been in recent months. John had moved his family to the city for his job, but he hadn't consulted them about it. He simply expected them to just follow him and find a new life for themselves. Everyone they knew, their friends and family members, have been left behind and are increasingly difficult to contact. As a result, Bridgette feels isolated and her emotions are visible on her face, even without psychic sniffing powers. This is likely why John has been making excuses to avoid her. Much of this issue is a very down-to-earth and personal story about 2 people that have been so in love that they could practically read each other's thoughts, and now they're so distant from each other. Sure, there are plenty of panels showing the psychedelic adventures of the Martian who tries to overcome the heatwave and restore level heads, but the bulk of this issue is spent with Bridgette and John, as she finally says what's been on her mind this entire series. And I really like how once Bridgette speaks her mind, all colour from her and John drains away. In a comic that is famed for its psychedelic colours, it really stands out. Bridgette talks about how she always felt like she could tell what John was thinking just by looking in his eyes. But in recent months, she doesn't recognise the person she sees in his eyes. She's not speaking literally, but it's ironic that that is literally what has happened. John and the Martian are 2 separate people, but they inhabit one body and, in effect, are somebody else. And maybe that's also what John has been avoiding facing. Speaking as someone that has been married for a long time now, these kinds of blow-ups happen even without extra-dimensional beings living in your head, or at least, I assume, neither of us have a mental lodger. They happen because of bottled-up feelings and a breakdown in communication, when people don't say what's on their mind because they fear what the other side may say. Really, problems should be aired as soon as possible and not left to explode. But sometimes that's easier said than done. However, it seems like Bridgette got through to John as he dropped to his knees, shocked to hear that she doubted that he even loved her and their son, Tyler. Nothing could be further from the truth. However, their argument is interrupted by 3 separate men blowing themselves up along with the city's power stations, plunging the city into darkness, just as the Martian realizes that the heatwave was a distraction. The White Martian's real goal was to plunge the city into the chaos of darkness. The White Martian wants to exploit our fears. Humans are afraid of the dark because we're not built to survive in it. When the lights go out, so does our primary sense, vision. Our ancestors couldn't see the wolves crouched in the bushes or the rivals sneaking through the trees, but the wolves could see them. The dark is a canvas for our minds to paint monsters on. It's not just what's there, it's what might be there. A creak becomes a footstep of an enemy approaching. A shape in the darkness becomes a figure waiting to strike. The unknown becomes unbearable, and that's what the White Martian wants to exploit. It's not the dark itself we fear, it's the not knowing. So, given how level-headed and reasonable the citizens have been shown to be in this series, I am 100% confident that everything is going to be just fine. Yeah, right. Absolute Martian Manhunter number 4 is available now from all good comic shops.
If you are based in the UK and don't have a comic shop near you, then you might want to use my affiliate link with the UK's biggest comic book retailer, Forbidden Planet. I have included a link in the pinned comment on this video. Alternatively, if the idea of hoarding a collection of comic books fills you with dread,
I just bought a complete run of Jonah Hex comics and have nowhere to put them.
You may want to try getting a digital copy of the issue from Amazon. I also have an affiliate link with them, which you could use to help my channel out. This is also included in the pinned comment.
To those that have read this issue, what did you think? I thought that the release of this issue was very well timed, what with the current heatwave that's swooping over much of the Western world. The scene with the 2 sects of Christianity going to war over the amount of water that should be used in a baptism would be pretty funny if it wasn't so accurate. I have to wonder who will to be blamed for the destruction of the power plant in the next issue. Any guesses? It's a pretty big problem that will not be easy to fix. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next time, I'll be back shortly with a video about Absolute Wonder Woman 9, where Diana interrogates Dr. Poison and ventures into the depths of Area 41's maze to try to find a long-lost Amazon. And next week I'll be talking about Absolute Green Lantern 4, where it sounds like Joe and Hal's attempt at freeing the town of Evergreen from Abin Sur is going to go very wrong. Hope to see you then.